Good morning. Welcome to the June 13th Board of Selectmen's meeting, Town of Effingham. I'm Chuck Fuller. To my right is Lenny Espy. To my left is Tom Hart. July, did I say June?
Yeah.
All right, let's July. July this year, next year, July. July 13, 2021. Thank you very much. Before we get started, let's do a pledge of allegiance, please. Lenny? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, let's see. Signatures folder, meeting minutes from June 29, 2021. I'll make a motion to pass the minutes of June 29, 2021. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to pass the minutes of July 7, 2021. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye.
We also have a contract for getting rid of some, what is considered medical waste on the side of our road. Clean Harbors contract will be doing that. We'll sign that today. That is in the amount of $1,179.90. I'll make a motion to approve the Clean Harbors contract.
Second.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye. Aye.
We had a Woodland Cemetery contract agreement. And we also now have an investment policy statement for the town of Effingham. So I would like to make a motion to adopt the investment policy statement for the town of Effingham.
Second.
Lenny, second. All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye. Aye.
The IPS is actually a requirement that the town should have had in place years and years and years ago, but we just discovered we didn't have it. So we now have it, and it should be reviewed on an annual basis by the Board of Selectmen. Approval of the manifest dated July 13, 2021 in the amount of $45,831.69. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye. Aye.
The review of the mail, Charter Communications sent something to us basically saying they're doing away with one of their on-demand channels shortly. I don't remember what it was. It's not a channel I recognize. We had a 91A request from George Silvestri regarding property tax abatement. And under announcements, municipal volunteers needed. What is that one about?
It should be in your folder called
Yeah.
announcements,
Yeah.
and they're looking for someone to be on the fire regulations. They're looking for an elected official. And they're also looking for someone to be assigned to a lakes region. So I don't know if someone from conservation would be interested in that, but they're looking for people from the community.
Well, Mark Hampton is our rep to LRPC for the town.
Who?
Mark Hampton.
Okay.
He took that on a year or two ago. So we got one part done. We'll look at the rest to make sure we're completely covered.
I did forward it to Randy to see if he was interested. I don't
Okay.
think every town needs to participate.
Remember the check? So it came up to 30 something.
Okay.
Now it came
All
out
right.
exactly correct.
2021 Hazardous Waste Day in Ossipee starts at 8:30, goes to noontime. The date is August 7th. This is our once a year opportunity to get rid of oil and pesticides and other things that we can't
All right.
put through our transfer station. Next up, administrator comments.
Okay, I have a quick question about that, getting out the word on the hazardous waste. We could put it on the website, post it at the library and the transfer station, but Bill told me they normally copy and hand out flyers. And
They basically
Let
the
you know.
past of just the one pager that we get in describing what it is. It's just a photocopy.
Why do it if people don't get in?
so you still want to do that?
Yeah,
It's a
because
copy.
they actually do. They hand it out to every single person coming through.
Okay.
I mean,
I didn't know
literally,
if it was a waste of paper.
I'd make 200 to 300 copies of it because they will hand, oh yeah, they'll hand out to
Alright.
It
everybody.
indicates to contact the office if you can't get into Zoom. Well, I can't get into Zoom.
David can't either. She has to accept him.
Well, I hope you'll call me. Why can't I?
I do not know the answer to that
I
question.
believe they can go
The
there.
computer.
Okay, because
I
somebody
have
had
one
asked
now,
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other one is quite a drive away though.
Yeah,
So,
as long as they have a Effingham dumpster.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Okay, it was a really short week because you guys met Wednesday and we're closed Friday, so it's been actually very few working hours considering all the emails we received, Mr. Fuller.
just want to make sure that there's no opportunity for slacking.
A&B Lock was here yesterday. They did several drops, so we now have computer access in this room in a couple new places. And also Barbara's up and running in our office, so we have the ability to have 3 people working on the network.
Perfect.
They did a great job. They
Oh, no.
read the things where they should be.
That's right, we're not waiting for Ransom.
Really? It's not a spider's web anymore?
It was amazing.
That's far.
They didn't do as much cleanup as I hoped, but they didn't stop. They worked all day.
Perfect.
They were out straight. David's assessings working closely with Rebecca on the building permit process and getting the information into Avatar. So hopefully next week we have a quote from Avatar of what that new module looks like. They put it on his system for free, so he and Rebecca can analyze it.
So do you
Will
bill?
he,
So you
will
put
he
out
give you
bill
a
for
recommendation to bring forward to us for next
Actually, I
week?
actually
Okay,
feel fertile.
And I have the 91A to respond to. And then the USDA is in process and that should be done by the end of today.
Perfect.
Submitted. I needed to wait for the last payment we had done to Hanson, include that, otherwise it was relatively
Yep.
small. And SIU signed the change for me to be administrator in SAM. And that took a significant amount of time and frustration yesterday.
Does that need to be notarized?
Darlene,
Okay, because I actually talked to Deanna this morning just to make sure that she was okay with me signing it. So,
I can notarize it.
perfect.
I will be taking a few vacation hours. I have my mom flying in, so it'll mostly just be an afternoon here and there.
Okay.
That's it.
Mom's visiting us up here.
Yeah.
Good. Has she been up this way before?
She says when I was little, I camped around Ossipee,
Okay.
so.
All right. Anything else? Good. Okay.
Say it again?
Mr. Hart.
Yeah, there's a couple things.
Yeah,
real
but
quick.
she knew I was waiting.
Cemetery Road, I spoke with
I came over and told her it wasn't on the website. I know. I'm putting it on
whatever it
there.
takes, bring the loads in from Hobbs Road all the way up. How's it gonna
Ask David to
go?
go ask her. He can't either.
Grade it out.
I mean, I don't know if you want to go with
Four,
the
five, maybe
door.
even 6 loads on that road.
Exactly.
But just do the complete road, not just part of the quarter of it that was done. The potholes, we're on the potholes. He's been notified. We have to wait for the weather to break. We gotta get the water out of the potholes, dry it up a little bit, or else we just waste the money putting more asphalt back in them. So, but he is on it. He's aware of it. We know there's a lot of them, but just that time of year, got a lot of rain, but we're on it. We know about it, and they will be fixed as soon as weather allows. That's it, Chuck.
Perfect. Lenny?
The potholes, you're just talking, coal patch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get plenty of potholes and dirt roads.
Oh, yeah.
too, So
They need to be graded.
everything. pretty
Yeah, we can
much
find a
needs to be
collection of them. I
graded.
think it's easier if you dump a load than run the grader over the puddle instead of filling each separate puddle on a dirt road.
Well, it has an effect when they can put the gravel down, because when they prep Snow Road this year and Concord Hill Road for this traffic we've got right now to the transfer station, the areas that used to be some of the most horrendous potholes on the whole road, there's none whatsoever, even with all the rain and everything else we've had.
Yeah.
There's none, but it just means we have to build up some of our roads in certain areas.
The road that's dumped up by your house could be used right between your house and where it's dumped.
Yeah.
Pretty rough. Yeah. And is the
It's,
backhoe
it's,
still there?
it's actually designed to keep people from going by the house at 40 miles an hour,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of them that think
Well,
it's a
Some
raceway.
still do.
And I know, even with the bus.
Is the backhoe still there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hope that doesn't leave town without picking the rock out of South River at the fire station.
I don't know, but it's on his list.
Yeah, okay.
Us too, in the minutes every.
Every week it's in the minutes.
Tom talked about Cemetery Road. It did get trimmed out. Sunshine's in there again. If you haven't noticed.
That's
Not
great.
that we've had a lot of sun lately, but no, they did a good job on
Who
it.
did that work, Lynn?
Dale Smith. And while we're on the cemetery, the sign right at the gate, the blue one.
Is that the wooden one on the tree?
No, it's on 2 posts
Okay.
at the gate, not the one
Oh,
at the end
okay,
of the
yeah,
road, the
yeah.
beginning of the road. That's pretty weak. I don't have a problem rebuilding it if the town, I think the posts, I don't know if they're rotten. I'm pretty sure they are, because
Yeah.
it's probably pre-pressure treated.
They're just buying materials and we'll reimburse it.
Yeah, I'll just get it 4x4 ski ends, and I think that the sign is okay. I just sand that down and repaint it.
Perfect.
I'll do that if, but we just probably ought to redo the post. I was down on Snow Road Bridge yesterday, talking with the guys. They were originally supposed to be done July 1st. And then they ran in problem driving the pilings, and they got a 2-week extension. Who authorized that, do you know?
The contract is a 60-day contract. 60 days from the date they start, they need to finish, which is the 3rd week of July. So in writing, the contract's a 60-day contract, because they started a week late, they started at the end of May. They've got 60 days from that period of time to complete.
Okay, because he said they wouldn't be out of there this week. And he said they don't even know if it'll be done next week, but
They're pouring concrete. I stopped by this morning. They're pouring the concrete abutment off 153 today. They're planning on pouring the one on Snow Road within 2 days, because they've got to move all the equipment and everything over there. They're gonna do guardrails starting next week, and then the paver should be in very shortly thereafter, so they put the membrane down and pave it.
yeah.
So,
Just kind of touch on that, while on the bridge a minute. Are we gonna have more engineer reports up on the website soon?
Yes, I just received them yesterday, so
Okay.
I'll send them to Teresa, she's out of town. That's, only certain parts of the website I know how to do and put the
Okay.
documents on it.
Oh, Audrey
Okay.
said Teresa's out of
Thanks.
town.
Tom, just as a follow-up on that.
I'm gonna leave this
So
outside.
Chris Fournier, one of the managers up at HED, had to review the reports from Eric, who's the guy that's been down here on the bridge. And he apologized in the email he sent Audrey and I yesterday, saying it was his fault. They were a few days late.
Just
Here's
as long as we get them
all
up,
so
yeah.
when they get up there, it'll be good reading for an hour or two.
Excellent.
Well, at least it doesn't say Glen Ingalls.
And just one thing to keep in mind, that we gotta start thinking about
Um,
fire chief.
Randy, you're supposed to be in our
Yeah.
next work session.
Yeah, but I mean, finding new.
in your doc file, you
Yeah,
got it.
Randy's gonna come in, we're gonna talk about the process.
Okay,
So I asked him to prep for that, get a copy of the 2010 warrant articles that describe what needed to be done and how it needed to be done. And then we'll go from there. The other thing is I put a call into one of the retired fire marshals from the state of New Hampshire. And I just haven't heard back from him yet to find out what process has been used in other small towns around the county. So
Okay.
I should have that by next week.
because it was I told you, I talked to somebody in Ospey, and they were pretty much interested in it, and the person's gone and got his transcript from fire academy and the school there in Laconia for the fire science, so.
He can apply in the independent process.
Yep.
We'll let him know just to keep his name number. As soon as we get stuff set up, we'll put it out.
Well, we haven't even got a committee together yet, so be a while. he thought it was gonna happen right away, so I said, no, we'll get till March.
My guess is we'll have something out the door in August.
Yeah. But I mean, the way it takes us to get stuff done, it's gonna be a 6-month process.
That's why I've got Randy coming in.
That's all I get for it, other than the oil grant, we gotta decide what we're gonna do for a container, which one to go with. I mean, the original one went up almost $1,000 from last year, so
Yep. And
do
that's,
we wanna go with something different?
Oh, two.
We
I
got
don't
a
mind
work
looking at
session-
something different.
We got a
Steel,
work session next week, right?
yep,
We'll decide then,
we can do that.
Yeah, we did have another layout. We did look at other options.
yeah,
Back
there's
when
different
this all
containers.
started.
But I want to
Safety
kind of
aspect was-
re-look at all the research we did.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we've considered everything and
I saw all the
and the
drawings in the
process.
place where we'd set the drums and the skids and all that in there with that roof, so I have all that still.
do we
The old
know,
one we had, is that obsolete now? Can we not use that?
not for what we need to do, no. It's not double walled and there's all kinds of issues with it, so. When we did the homework last year, we actually looked at a lot of the state requirements for that, so that particular steel one, minimum thickness steel, double walled, spillover containment area, size of nozzle for pumping, everything is built into that, that we hadn't looked at in the past.
Okay,
We'll make sure we add that to the work session next week, which is the approval of the
container.
containment system for the new used oil.
Excuse me, do we need to submit anything for the grant or?
Yeah, I get all the stuff here. We just gotta decide what we're gonna do, because we have to match after that. So. And the price of the container will more than match what we have.
Good morning. Thank you very much for that
You are
delivery.
very welcome.
Wow, that's awful thick.
I do what I'm told.
What was just delivered is normally the chief of police is coming in this particular first week of the month to do his report. He was up all night last night and not available to get in here today. So he asked his staff person to bring in the report to us. So we'll cover that in a few minutes. Anything else, Wendy?
No, I'm still
Okay.
haven't caught up with Kevin Cody, get it brought in again. So,
His crew should be working on the library and maybe today if there's no rain today. They
okay,
started the day of the rain and they haven't been back.
maybe I'll
So,
swing by there and see if we can't get this building tightened up.
okay. All right, just as a reminder for us, the Federal Highway Administration presentation around the beaver and how to manage beaver is Thursday, the 15th at 2 p.m. And the document that was shown to us last week has a link right on it. It's a free, you don't even have to register for it. But after we see that, I'm thinking at the next work session, we'll talk about beavers and how to
Can I have this
potentially
back
contain them
after
from
you-
plugging our culverts.
Change the address. It's an address change. Thank
Just
you.
received the second
I need it
invoice for
back, though.
calcium chloride. It
Okay.
looks like we might have enough to do one more application within our budget. One more application would not do all roads in town. They took 2 applications to do all roads in town. So one of the things we need to think about with what Ron is going to be grading, what roads might we want to put that on, knowing that we're not going to get to every one of the gravel roads. So if we want to use it at all, or we can definitely use the money on the Bailey Road Bridge emergency. Old business, transfer station ordinance. Will you have that edits done for next week's
Yes.
session? Okay.
Sorry, I didn't have-
No, that's good. Can you also have the public notice? There's actually wasn't
Yes.
original public notice
Yeah.
on that when we originally adopted it. Hopefully it's still there. We can just modify the dates. We'll put it in a 9 o'clock timeframe. It has to be out there a minimum of 15 or 16 days, so it's probably gonna take at least 3 or 4 meetings before you can do it. The RSA says 15.
Okay.
Thank you.
So depending on when we're talking
Public
in the
notice
next,
week.
you know, we got it ready to go because it's got to go in the paper as soon as we say yes. And then we'll go the public meeting out from there. 15+ days, whatever our next regularly scheduled meeting is. The EnviroVantage contract for the library stuff, did that get sent back to the company?
Yes, I need to now send Chris copies. So we have their W-9, their insurance.
Yep.
certificates.
Can we email it to them? Do you have the, okay, perfect. Okay. Road sign postings, no through trucking. Have we made any headway on that?
No, I spoke with Joe. It wasn't last Thursday. We actually had a date for this Thursday for sign placement. I was under the impression it was last Thursday. I was wrong.
Okay. All right. Crack sealing. I went out and drove a few of the roads and it looked, in my opinion, like Bailey Road and Townhouse Road are the two that are in good enough shape that we wouldn't have to try and fill in every single crack.
Mhm.
We could help maintain those roads. I don't know if we have any other ones, Lenny, on your list.
No.
I
no,
drove,
I didn't go down Bailey Road because I took Mike's word for it. That he said that's the best road in town.
it is, there isn't much that's got to be done
Right.
there. So when we buy it, we have to buy a pallet. And my
Yeah.
guess is between Bailey Road and Townhouse, we won't use a full pallet. So I think we ought to have at least another couple roads in our priority order to take a look at. And High Watch could use a little bit. It looks like it was done part way up and then stopped, but that road's beginning to look pretty tough. So
Not out here. That's pretty banged
All
up.
right. Banged up and just cracked is two different things. But yeah, just,
I think it'd be a waste out here, actually.
I agree. But let's next week, so we can take a Bailey, Townhouse, High Watch, if we've got one or two more. And we'll just give them a priority list and say go down through it till you run out of your pallet of sealer and you're done.
Yeah, because usually you spend a couple of days on Snow Road, right? But it doesn't have to this year.
Correct.
Agree.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only a couple cracks in the transfer station too. So probably.
You want to do, oh, we need to do that too, probably.
Well, there's not too many. I looked at it the other day. There's a couple, but
Is it worth having them willing to do it though, to help save it?
I wouldn't think so. I just put 2 or 3 little small cracks.
Okay.
There'll be more next year. So. I mean, if they were gonna do Snow Road, yeah, I'd go in and do it. But
Nope, the Snow Road will be changing with a new coat of pavement. Snow Road Bridge reports. So we just covered it a little bit earlier. Reports came in, they'll be posted sometime this week. And it's everything through, I believe, last Thursday or Friday. They're pouring concrete on the 153 side of the abutment right today. They'll move all the equipment over to the Snow Road Bridge side tomorrow or tonight, tomorrow, and then they're going to build that within 2 days and pour that. Guardrails start going up next week. After that, they will be dealing with the membrane that has to be put down before the pavement. And then I know the pavement guy that they hired has been scheduled. I just don't know when they're getting here. Well, as we get more info, we'll put it out. Road grading and potholes. Do we want to do spot grading or we want to try and do? I'm looking at a lot of them. Calcium helped a lot of the roads. The ones that were really, really bad last year are not really bad now, except in certain areas that are always bad. I'm thinking spot grading and maybe even some gravel would be the way to go. But thoughts?
I think once you're there, it's just as easy to grade the whole road,
But once we do that, we're taking.
especially like Clough Road. I mean, it's pretty flat, so there's a lot of potholes in it.
We lose all the calcium on that road. That's the only
Yeah.
reason I think in the spot might be worth it is everywhere else, once we put the grader blade to it, calcium chloride's not gonna work. anymore.
Because out there where they have the shooting range, somebody decided to cut some cookies in the road out there, so that's torn up. And right on Concord Hill. I don't know if that somebody washed out their driveway or what.
It's the guy that lives right there at the end of his
Yeah.
driveway. His kid's always doing that. I haven't caught him yet. I'm gonna.
But, all right, you see that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of that.
Everybody that
Okay,
drives on that
thank you.
road drives over it. So, yeah.
stuff.
But yeah, Tom, any thoughts on
But
doing?
like,
Yeah.
Concord Hill, I mean, Rumney Hill, that road lasted. It didn't wash
Pay the
out,
tax
right?
bill to your mortgage company.
Yeah, we were lucky with the rain on Concord Hill, because in the
And
past,
usually they get it
with
from
the
the
kind of rain we had,
town long
it would have been
before
a
you
huge
do
washout
anything. Pay
highway
it,
up
but
Concord Hill. And when
I
checked
can
it,
transfer you to
storm
the
that night,
tax
the Friday
collector to see.
at 5, because we were
Yeah.
gonna have grading or gonna have gravel added if needed. and it was
Okay.
Perfect.
Hang
I
on.
mean, even Hobbs Road is in good shape, you know, that's not.
So
far
do we
away
want
at all.
to do a kind of a list of roads we want the grading done on?
Hunter Swamp Road is pretty pothole in places, so,
Yeah.
That's a given.
yeah.
That's the most expensive road in town.
And why, if they're there doing
Am I
it,
doing?
do something right at 153, the entrance, I get more complaints. Where the launch pads are,
Yeah, those have been touched up and touched
Yeah.
up and just,
I mean, it's hard right there at the stop sign.
yeah, it would be
to
there every
prevent
other
it,
day.
but Try to smooth it out, at least for now.
Mr. Carley, thank you for joining us, sir. Based on your recollection of last year and that discussion of 153 and Huntress Bridge, did we ever get a price, a rough price back from anybody as a range of prices to do that apron?
No, because I needed to schedule a meeting with the state, which I did, and I got Mr. Nason down from District 3 and one of the engineers. And in that discussion, we were looking at changing the whole intersection because of the way that comes in as a 4-way. It's a real no. The state doesn't like it. It's a dangerous place. So we had kind of looked at changing the elevation on 153, the state's portion, to do a super elevation. And bring the turn into the actual corner. And so you can kind of line of sight around there. And then we would, with our portion of town, and bring the road straight down Hunter's Bridge with a wide open. So there wouldn't be a crisscross in there. At that point, kind of stopped pursuing that until we knew we would have funding on our end. Beyond that, I had reached out and I had spoken with R&D Paving so that when they were coming in for the bridge, to let Jerry know that we were interested in just taking that one section where the dirt is dropped at the end of it and just kind of grinding that out, getting past the Parsons Field Road and just pave that. He didn't give a price, but when he comes in to do the bridge deck, I suggested you might be interested in pursuing
Go ahead,
that.
well,
It's,
what, the
one of the
computers?
spots around.
I'm here to work.
Did you reach out to him and ask him?
Nothing I'm doing should
Yes.
affect you at all.
I know he took some measurements down there.
I just need space.
Ask him what it
Okay,
might
maybe
entail
answer.
to do that when he's here in town.
So, sorry.
Yes. and,
I don't know if it's
beyond that,
interference, but I can hear your conversation.
Contract bid
Ah.
for paving.
I can hear myself now in my ears.
All states material.
They're on
I
the Zoom
reached out
meeting.
to Bruce Ryder to see if he had an interest when he was in town doing the same section. If he
You muted?
wanted to look at it. He hasn't been exposed to that section yet. He was looking to come out and
It's
take a
me,
peek at
it's
it.
me.
He didn't see.
Yeah,
too
I
thrilled about
can't hear it
doing
now.
slot
No,
jobs.
but if you go out in your computer.
So R&D might be.
You're gonna hear it.
Okay,
It's your mic.
all right. Yeah, if you could reach out to him and find out what that'd be, but in the meantime, I think we put a greater blade to it or something. to
Yeah,
Fill it in. Smooth it for the moment. Okay, thank you, Michael. The other thing I had from the previous week or two, and Mike, I'm glad you're here. We had a discussion about the granite release and whatever. And Mike offered if we would accept it to the town to take that granite because he was donating it to the town. So I would like to make a motion to accept the granite from Mike Cahalan That granite would be the granite that was part of the Snow Road Bridge construction. And we will pick that up and bring that back to the town as soon as we get our Snow Road Bridge back.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Hmm.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Right.
All right. We also, Mike, we need to basically do a motion to do the board for the health officer stuff, or are we automatically allocated by state law?
I looked into that, and under RSA 128:3, every town is actually has a health, a board of health by statute, so you
Okay.
don't have to adopt it.
All right,
You
we're
guys
it.
were
We're it.
drafted.
Well, welcome to the board, gentlemen. All right, and one last question, Mike, while I got you here. Is HEB all in line from last year when we did the monitoring on the landfill cap?
All in line.
Do we need to do anything with them as far as scheduling it, or are they already scheduled?
They should be all set. They know this is an annual,
Yep.
and September is usually your reporting month, September into October for 5 minutes.
Do I need to remind Chris Fournier of that or no?
You could certainly reach
Okay.
out and just make sure that's on his list. Never hurts to make sure everybody else is on the same page.
Okay, last question for you. Yeah, I'm glad you arrived when you did. Bailey Road culvert and the fix. Do we need to get an extension on that 60-day permit, or, I mean, we're over halfway through it right now.
It's a 50-day permit, and depending what happens with the delivery for the culvert sections, we might be in that position. The other concern is, obviously, we don't know what the actual conditions in the culvert are. So without really breaking the bank and ordering a lot of metal culverts, which we wouldn't normally have a use for, hopefully I ordered enough. It's the unknown. The other part of that, so we're waiting on delivery, and the other part of that is Hanson Bridge was gonna go down and look at the dewatering aspect of that for us. Since they're in town, they have the capability to do it. Mr. Hanson was very positive on the idea. We have not been able to schedule a day to get down and look at it because the rain is kind of just taken away from their opportunity to be here in town.
He's out there this morning.
He's used to working in the wet a lot, I guess. But we've had a couple of holidays and some various things going. So I don't want to take him away from that job. We've tried to have a couple of days in our competing schedule. So as soon as he can verify that he can dewater it, it just comes down to the culverts. And with that, I'll keep in contact with Chris Fournier and follow up if we get a timeline issue.
Is Chris then the lead with the state if we need to extend that permit?
He would be the person we would go through, Chris
Okay.
Fournier.
All right. Okay, one last item, and Mike, I'm glad you're here.
Hey, you just used your one line.
No, I got one more. So I had a couple of people approach me this weekend about some complaints that the new bridge is too low. I would ask first what the engineering degrees are that are behind those statements and what the facts are. Because for us to be able to get the engineering and permitting we did, hydraulic studies had to be done and everything else. Now, I'm not familiar with the specific hydraulic study of Snow Road because I've been more in tune with the project up at Bailey Road Culvert. And we've had two different presentations by the engineers explaining the processes that have to go into play to replace a bridge. At least up in their Bailey Road area, when those hydraulic studies were done, they were required to be done in a 200-year flood capacity. 200, right, Mike? Or 100?
I think it's a 100.
100, okay, 100-year flood capacity. And from that standpoint, the flow up in that bridge when it's repaired on Bailey Road is actually going to increase slightly. For that bridge at Bailey Road to be removed and replaced would have required Snow Road Bridge to be removed and replaced first, because the hydraulic study said the water coming out of the lake under that new Bailey Road Bridge would not be handled by the 4 culverts at Snow Road. So by virtue of the fact we're doing Snow Road this year, we mitigated that entire problem because there's more than enough flow underneath Snow Road Bridge. So if there's any additional questions, fire them over. If somebody wants to see some studies, I'm sure we can give you reading material. Anything else on that?
Yeah, I talked to the guy yesterday when I was there. I told him, I says, you know, people are saying it looks low, and it does look low when you stand there and look at it.
Yep.
But he says, well, when they cut back 30 feet on each side, he says, and then he told me there's 6 inches of hot top going on that. That seems like a lot.
I would have to consult the plan. I didn't think it was 6 inches.
Yeah, I'd say 3 maybe, but
Yeah, usually in this town in the past, we've done 2-inch base layer and a 1-inch
Yeah.
wearing surface. We increased that to 1 1/4, ideally 1 1/2 in our area would be nice, but that might be because of the give and take you might get with a deck under there versus like a road stability. So again, I'd have to double check the plan, but 6 inches might be.
But I mean, you know, they had the excavator parked there and there's dirt where they pulled it up. I mean, it does, but it could be just an optical illusion. And they're gonna cut it back 30 feet so that everything will feather right in. So.
Yeah. So I was there the night they actually removed those culverts. And when the culverts were installed, they actually added all kinds of fill under the culverts, which raised the culverts, which also raised the upstream height. When the culverts were removed, they actually dug out that area right under the bridge so that both sides of the river are essentially level. So there was actually more water flowing there now than there was before.
So just to, there's as you pointed out, the 100-year flood study. So you get a storm event once in 100 years. It's that, you know, whopper of a storm. The freeboard height over the, below the bridge has to be set at a certain point to accommodate that. And that'll give you the square foot area that'll allow the flow, the capacity that they need. That's all in the plan. That amount of flow capacity is calculated. So it's going to be greatly increased, as Chuck pointed out, to accommodate any upstream flooding potentials. When you go for permitting, the surveyors come in and they set your grades and everything. They come in and they put a benchmark out there. So that's all been established. So when you set up a transit, you fire off your grades, all of that should have been covered from GM2. They're the responsible party. And I guess somebody put on social media or so I'm told, why do we need to have an engineer on this project on the bridge? Well, you don't have just your engineer. The contractor is supposed to have one. Ethically, you shouldn't have an engineer doing both sides. It's like having a defense attorney be the prosecutor. It doesn't work out. So in this case, we have an engineer looking out for the town's best interest and pointing out any deficiencies we may see, like in permitting. But then it all falls on to the contractor and their engineer. So if this bridge did go in low, it would not be on the town. It would be the liability of the contractor and his engineering company to make good on that. That said, I don't really think that that's likely to happen. The grades and all of the heights and calculations, I'm pretty sure they're fine. These guys know what they're doing, and the engineers, I'm sure, have calculated out that. I was there when they were setting things up on the bridge before they pulled it and marking things out. So I couldn't imagine that they could have screwed it up, but God, you know, things happen. I think it's just one of those things, like you said, Lenny, it's just an optical illusion. You look at something over the water or whatever, and your eye tells you one thing, but the reality in life is, it's, you know, just the way you're looking at it. So I wait and see.
I did look at it Saturday morning after the rain, and the river didn't come up that much because it was so low. But there was still probably only 16, 18 inches between the bottom of the stringer and the water. So. And I've seen the water over the road on the transfer station side of the the old bridge at times.
Well, I'll reach out.
So I don't know if it's gonna end up being a dam, you know, if it ever got that high again.
I'll run the question by our structural engineer on our side of the coin here and see what they say. Because I know they were setting, you know, lines out there when they did the concrete work. So again, I can't imagine they screwed it up, but I will pose the question to our guys and see if I can get you more of a technical answer on that.
I think one of the things that would help with that is that we know that a hydraulic study had to be done on that when they did it. So they actually calculated the flow rate with the 4 culverts.
Yeah.
And the current flow rate with the new bridge. And it would probably help to understand the sizing difference with the new bridge and the volume of water that can go under it.
That may even be captured in your permit, I do believe the DES wetlands permit, I believe has all the calculations in there for that flow. I can double check that. I didn't bring that with me today. Like you were alluding to earlier, the upstream Bailey Road culvert was, the area was 25.2 square feet, I believe, of flow coming through those 2 culverts, and that's now going to be increased 140% to 60 square feet of flow. So all of the downstream would have to accommodate that, and it should. But I will check into it and get back to you with the actual real math, heights, grades.
One thing I did find odd, talking to the worker there yesterday, when they pour the concrete, they're pouring the beams right into that concrete. I said,
Yeah, the back walls.
yeah, it says, don't that steel expand and contract? He says, yeah, up to 1.5 inches. Well, what's that gonna do to the concrete? I just thought that was very odd, but
I'll ask that one too, from our engineers. So I can't answer it.
I mean, if it moves that much, well, it has the potential to move that much.
Well, I guess, you know, in the warm weather, if you put it in while it's warm, the contractions all you really want. The contraction is what I think you could see in the winter. Well,
Yeah, but I mean, over the years, I mean, constant expand and contract, stuff's moving all the time, so. He's trying to tell me that concrete moves, but I just turned and walked away at that time.
well, I mean, who's telling you you're gonna expand 1.5 inches? Because that seems pretty.
Well, that's what that's what he was telling me, that according to the engineer's specs,
Okay.
that length of beam would expand and contract 1.5 inches.
Well, I'll talk to Mr. Fournier at HEB, who represents interest. Gonna follow up on that, because I can't imagine.
Well, the engineer was there, but when I was talking to the guys, they were getting ready to go to lunch, and I turned around and the engineer had left, so. I didn't get to talk to him, but.
Well, again, you know, Chris Fournier is the lead structural engineer and is owner of, one of the owners of HEB. I know Chris pretty well. He's pretty sharp guy, and he's gonna tell you straight, so I'll reach out to him and get to the bottom of your questions for sure.
Get some good ones anymore.
No,
If you
no, I
think-
just thought that was, I've never seen it done like that, and it just don't make sense to me, but. Obviously, I'm not a bridge builder.
I got nothing for you. You got 2 good questions. I'll look into.
Take the engineering degree to answer that one. All right.
I have a lot of those degrees. I have a degree in just about anything. They're all right here in this little block.
Contact list. All right, that's all I had for that. Before we get into public comment, I just wanted to, the police department dropped off the reports earlier. If everybody wants a handout of the June stats, it looks like we have copies for everybody in the audience. In May, calls for service for the town was 183. 2 arrests, 27 motor vehicle stops, and 2 motor vehicle accidents. In June, calls for service were 270, 0 arrests, 22 vehicle stops, and 1 accident. So these stats, I've asked the chief to basically pull not only from Effingham PD, but the state police and the county sheriff. Because when our people are not out on the road and calls for service come in, they can be handled by the other agencies if they're available. So these are summary stats for everything related to the town of Effingham. Are there any questions on the stats? Okay, and as I said, there are copies here. I don't know if she put in, yep, looks like this is all June. We can make those available if anybody wants them on the way out. Okay, public comment. Everybody will have a chance to make statements and or ask questions up to 5 minutes.
And this isn't exactly public comment. I know we're going to get together for our first annual health officer, Board of Health meeting.
Have we scheduled that?
We kind of did, but I think we got.
I want to make sure we know the date. Is it the,
So, but why don't we factor that out? after,
Okay.
Because I think we might have been today. So,
okay,
But also with Mr. Gasso has been got a clean report on him from a background check. So he is our new.
he passed?
He did. I don't know how he got all that.
I should play you the recording I got.
Good legal.
Yeah, yes, he hit everything. So the state police gave him a clean bill of health, as they say, and his application's in at the state. You gentlemen have already approved him on there, so we'll have David with us when we meet. And you had asked me, and I forgot to bring this in yesterday, and this was the signature from my end of things as a health officer for Clean Harbors on that issue out on the back country road.
Yep, we actually signed that contract. Actually, I signed it this morning, Mike.
Oh, okay.
So it was, we had it in here and we adopted it and I signed it. So we'll throw my signature on it unless you want your signature. on it.
You asked me and I provided.
I did. That's good.
It's
All right.
Whatever you will choose to do. with it.
We'll keep it as a file copy, but we'll use the one I signed. Okay, anything else in public comment? Steve, come on.
We do have one.
Okay,
When will the next engineer, I'm sorry, the person that's on Zoom, can you please, I guess it's John Meisner. I thought it was someone else. When will the next engineer report be posted on town website? The last update was 6/8/21. So you already covered that.
yeah, we've covered it twice this meeting already. The
Yeah,
reports
that'll be
came in
the end of it.
yesterday. They'll be up within a couple of days.
Yeah. So I don't see any other comments on Zoom.
Okay. Mr. Regal,
I have a Steve Regal from Knoll Road. I don't know if this is a function of the town, but is there a way for a citizen to contact the state about work that they've done on a road in our vicinity? Point of fact is, if you look at all the work that's been done on 16, it's out at where Elm Street hits it. Now, that's a big funnel for us coming in on Elm Street. If anybody's familiar with it, if you're coming north on 16, right before you turn, the right turn there, on the right is an extreme low area that's been there for years. Now, it looks like they've finished their top pavement, but they haven't remediated that problem there. That is a problem where, as the winter comes in, you end up with a huge pothole, you end up going down, you're banging all over the place.
oh, the hole's already there. I hit it yesterday.
What I'm saying is there any way to contact it for a citizen, you guys wouldn't have to do it, but a citizen to call in and find out why they did not fix that approach? Because it's dangerous to vehicles. And what it does is it forces people that are taking the right to go left to avoid it. And they actually wander over into the
Other lane.
other lane that's coming off of Elm Street to get onto 16. So I consider that a problem that should have been eyeballed by the state themselves, but how do you bring them to task about that before everybody disappears and it's all.
Do you know what the contact is for that line?
No.
Steve, the only thing I can think of is going on the internet and just picking up the state DOT customer service line and calling them and saying, hey, here's the issue.
Okay. I
I'm
don't know if
surprised
you-
they didn't put a better paved apron in
I
that.
didn't know if you guys
but-
had a line where 153 goes through so much of the town, of somebody that's on the DOT that's like a, a contact, but this way here, yeah, I'll go on the site
Okay,
and do it that way, because I consider that a real problem, and it affects a lot of our citizens, so it isn't like, oh geez, that's an Ossipee, no, that's our citizens going through it.
Have they done shouldering there yet?
Lenny, I can't say 100%, but I think they've done some.
Yeah.
Because there's no,
Because isn't there a lot of that hole is in that parking lot for the little lobster place?
I think that's still state road there,
Is it?
because it's beyond the lobster town.
Yeah, but isn't that part of her parking lot or money?
No, not the actual parking lot, no, they don't park it there. It's
My
beyond-
wife threw in the tire there a few years ago, so it's been there for a while, but it's
Yeah.
thought if they'd shouldering, they probably could correct a lot of that. So.
They should correct something. Now, I don't know what, because they had the perfect opportunity when they were finishing off all of their, what do you call it, the entrances to whatever, like to roads or the parking areas or the whatever, that could have been alleviated at that time, but it wasn't. So I just want to know if you guys had an avenue, but if you don't, I'll find out myself how to get an answer in it. It is a problem.
Mr. Carling,
Two thoughts on that. If it's on Route 16, then potentially District 3, although that's probably part of a 10-year road maintenance plan, a route like that. But District 3 would probably be able to give you some answers or some direction, Steve. And if it is the part of the road that extends Elm Street, then potentially the town of Ossipee might be accommodating to fill that in, because that might be their right of way. So there might be a little jurisdictional issue.
You can call Division 3 over in Guilford.
Okay,
You want the number?
I'd like it, yes, please, if you could.
524 6667.
Lenny.
wait a minute,
That must have been an expensive tire.
hold
Yeah,
on,
that was a
low
good
profile
job,
tires.
524,
6667.
okay, there you go.
Thank you very much.
That's what 35 years of Verizon does to you.
All right, from a standpoint of the ARPA, any other public comment? I need to step back a little bit on one other item, on the ARPA list that we need to have. Can we deal with that next week? And we'll do a mini work session and we'll just talk about that. And whatever you've been able to compile in addition to the list that I pulled together for possible projects. Do you know in that application, do we literally just have identify the project with a price tag, or do we need to have proposals attached to that? Do you know the answer to that one?
I don't, I think we do need to do a price tag, but mostly we just need to, by August, say, yes, we want the money.
Okay,
And then start putting our submissions in.
okay. And what we're referring to here is the federal grant process down to the states from the federal government with one of the recent passages of their money programs. The town of Effingham will qualify over a 2-year period for $154,700 or something like that. And we can get half of it this year. So we're looking at basically getting about 77 grand plus a few hundred to use. And part of that grant process is we have to identify projects that are related to COVID that would help improve the town aspect of what we do. And from that standpoint, we need to make those definitions to basically determine whether we can spend the 77 grand. There will be an audit after a period of time, starts next year. And if we don't prove it, then we have to give it back. And if we don't have enough to cover 77 grand at the start, we will not get all of the money. It automatically gets reallocated to other towns and cities. So this is free money if we can meet the requirements of the definitions of coverage. Mr. Callahan?
Yeah, when I looked into, and I spoke to some representatives there on the opera funds regarding stormwater, I know I had a brief conversation with you, and I just want to remind you in case you may have, forgot. Stormwater management was the focus of the Bailey Road culvert grant that allowed us to get as far as we did so far. So with that, that project should be a qualifier to go forward. So ARPA money, what I was led to believe is ARPA money to be applied to that. And that's a pricey project. Yesterday, Sally Sewell of DES did some follow-up email and contacting CMA engineers who did that work for us up to this point. And was gathering information to go forward on 319 grant, in which I sent out a little blurb to her yesterday, a voicemail, and I haven't heard back. I was just looking to kind of find out an update of where we are in all this, and basically how competitive we may or may not be on the 319 grant. And if we're not going to come out very competitive, I'd like you guys to consider that as a potential use, because that's a fairly pricey project.
And the 319 grant is a state grant that would help offset the cost of the bridge construction at Bailey Road.
Yeah, up to 40% of the project.
Up to 40%. Okay.
Which is pretty close to what the opera money is.
Okay. All right.
Well, it's good if ARPA, that would qualify for ARPA. COVID, yeah.
Sure would. That would make a big dent in next year's
But the big,
taxes.
what's nice about it is you could solidify the knowledge that you have that level of funding for the project going
Yep.
forward. So when you put your warrant out together, you're good to go. The 319 grant is kind of, you go through a process of reviews, and there's other towns that submit, and it's competitive. And you might get a percentage of it, you might get 40%, or you may not get anything because there are other projects that are more competitive that get funded and you lose out. The first year I was on the board, I went for a grant for Bailey Road, and we didn't win that one. The subsequent year, we got a little better results.
When would we know kind of the answer on whether we get that grant or not, Mike?
That is the problem there. It goes.
Took over a year and a half last time, right?
Yeah, you get selected in the first round, so your submission is in September. So somewhere down the line after that, maybe in October or so, you might find out that you have been pre-qualified to be in that pool. And once you're there, I think it's more of a formality, but it goes through the Governor's Council in the following year. I believe to get the final decision.
Okay.
ARPA funding would be kind of a nice law.
We'll add stormwater drainage to the list.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else that anybody has? Do we need a non-public?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Forget one thing first. I had it written down here, and I get a question on after I couldn't remember what it was for, but now I do.
35 years
Pine River culverts didn't happen last week because of Ron's workload. But we spent $240.50 on ads in the paper. Is that, now that money, that's kind of wasted money now. Should we consider doing that in the future, or putting it on the website, or one time? I mean, that's,
We have always advertised it.
yeah,
And when we put it out, we had to put it out in advance based on the schedule work.
yeah.
His workload changed at the last minute, which means he couldn't do it. You know, cost of doing business, I hate it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, he obviously told us he was gonna be here that week. And, you know, we spent that money on his word and he didn't show up, so, that was how many days?
It was the week before.
Only one day,
One day?
yeah.
$240? Wow.
No, it was less than that,
No.
that.
Well, that's what it said on
It was 240 on the invoice today.
240.50 on the.
I believe that was for
That
different
was
ads.
3 different ads, oh, actually 5 different ads.
Yeah.
But it
If you
outlined,
look at the breakdown,
oh, yeah, you're right.
Well, it
it's
was
only
the-
like
It was like
50
nine.
something,
Yeah.
$60, something like that.
Oh, so when it got to Fine River, it was running total? For the whole.
It was part of the other ads, I think, the billing.
Yeah,
The breakdown's on the front of the invoice. Some of it was planning board advertising, some of it was yours, one was zoning.
I
Yeah,
thought it was a weather delay, so I just put postponed on the website. Is it actually a longer delay now? Should I delete it?
Mr. Callahan, I know you've had
Delays.
discussions on this.
Yeah, well, to start with, Lenny, just so you're fully aware, Ron did give us a hard and fast date. And he blocked out that time, but there was a failure here somewhere, there was a breakdown in getting an advertisement out, so. Initially, the disruption that caused problems was us, we messed him.
It was Chuck. I missed it.
Not looking to assign blame, it's just on our side of the coin.
I
We
stand
had-
corrected. The 240.50 was running total. They were just
Right.
totaling everything.
Yeah, so the breakdown's on the bottom, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was 45.50.
Yeah.
So the initial oopsie was on our side, and now I'm not sure what really happened on Ron's side with his scheduling, but a delay. And he did preface it with saying he would do his best to be there. He didn't give us an absolute commitment. He was looking to get in there. We were looking for him to get in. We advertised. I'm not exactly sure why it didn't happen. I know that he had reservations on doing the job because he feels it's kind of a ridiculous thing to do, putting in these overload culverts. And he didn't want to be accused of, doing something he didn't really think was necessary and stir up resentment. I assured him this last go around that we don't have a choice. This is just clearly a state mandated thing from the Department of Environmental Services. Whether, I don't really believe in the 3 culverts either, but it's either we would have to tear out the work that's done and put in a box culvert for another $200 and something thousand and waste the efforts we already put in. So I think he's really a little more appreciative of our position here and assures me that we're going to get this done. So any consolation here that
When even 5 years ago, Dave Beckman said that the static level of the 2 different sides of that the state would require more than 1 culvert there, and he told us that 5 years ago.
well, here we are today,
Yeah.
and we're cleaning up some of the things that didn't get done back then, and this one was a big push on us, because we just didn't get to the time we needed, but I'm working with Ron to get that scheduled. And I'm sure everybody in any industry of construction is just crazy flat out these days.
If they can find help.
Yeah, right, so, I'm sure Duran's doing a little bit of a juggling act and, things affect construction these days. Materials, timeframe, frame, what have you, permitting.
And this final overflow culvert installation, these 3 culverts, put the town in a position, once the state approves it, it's a permanent solution for that area. We do not have to then rip it out and put in another bridge.
No, it is a permanent, it is approved, it's a permanent fix in for the 3 of you and me, our lifetimes, it's.
So the original schedule, we had determined in the last 2 years that whenever we were going to do construction, particularly around Bailey Road, because of the grief we got a year ago, we decided we would go out to the newspapers ahead of time to let everybody know before we actually did it. I forgot to let the office know to get that out the door when Ron originally scheduled it. So this second scheduling, he was trying to fit us in between another project. So obviously, whatever happened didn't work out. We're still gonna work with him to get the thing done. So yes, it's delayed, but it's not gone. It'll get done.
And if I may, I had given some thought to this, and it's along the lines where Lenny was, I think, going here, is we could invest in a 2-sign package which would allow us to disclose that we're looking for construction to start and have a changeable date, so that we could advertise as people go down the road. August 1st, anticipated construction date, whatever, but I think the town at this point, as you said, because the messaging is tough, maybe looking at that so you can capture the coming and going traffic and just put a date on a sign. So it's one of those signs you can just adjust that stuff. I'm sure you've seen them on the roadways.
Mhm.
Just a thought.
Can you make a note of that too?
Yeah,
Chase that down for some numbers.
Put it out there 2 weeks or so in advance and maybe save some headaches for folks.
Mr. Regal?
Yes, just a question about the culvert area. What's the story with that boulder that's in the upside area there?
Where are we, which road are we talking?
We're talking Pine River, we're talking the same
Okay,
area. If you look down, the upside of the culvert area, there's a huge boulder that's still just sitting in there. I'm wondering what the story is with that. Is that a necessary thing, or was that never taken out? Should it be taken
I
out?
believe when we had low water there, when they pulled that culvert out, that was an existing rock in the wetland. It was not one we touched. It was already there.
Does it have to state it
Yep.
because it was in the wetlands?
Yep. We're not gonna take it out.
Okay.
We'd have to go get permitting and go through the whole process, paying the state and engineers and everything else.
This is wondering what the story was with that boulder.
No,
'cause
it was
It
there.
doesn't look like it should be there.
It was there. When the water got low enough, you could actually walk off the edge of the road onto the boulder. Because I did it. So. But yeah, it's there. So. Not gonna change.
Isn't that gonna block the flow of one of
Nope.
the third culverts?
No, because the three culverts are gonna be on the Elm Street side of the bridge or the culvert at Pine River, and they're gonna be evenly spaced out. And they're strictly for overflow purposes. So if we ended up with that's probably where I got the 200-year flood. I remember that one was part of that one. If the flood ever got that high, then those are
At least
supposed to
everybody
be.
knows about the boulder that we're talking about, the low you're looking for. It does look ridiculous.
No disagreement, but it was there.
Okay.
So. Anybody else? Okay. We need to go in, I'm sorry, thank you.
Diane Jarecki, Nutter Road, ECC. I wanted to ask about the Japanese knotweed at the transfer station. Is there any update on that?
I have a meeting with Bartlett Tree Service. I believe it is August 4th or August 5th. For them, they are a licensed applicator. We figured we needed to start somewhere to get some initial information around what we're potentially dealing with before we actually ask for some proposals. They're willing to come out. They're going to basically tell us what our options are. Within the wetland, not within the wetland, whatever. But no matter what we do, the state law says we have to hire a licensed applicator to handle that.
Right, now I just
So-
wondered if there was any update from that because that is affecting the wetlands. So.
It is. So on it, but it's the earliest I could get the guy out here. So it's been scheduled for 2 weeks already. So thank you. Anything else? All right.
Not we, my wife got rid of it at Atlas.
How'd she do that? Because we've got it growing around our place. We've discovered it.
She cut it off and took rock salt and dropped it down inside the tube. Cause you gotta kill the, what do they call it, rhizome or whatever.
Rhizomes, right.
And then it killed it.
I wonder if that works for bracken ferns.
We wouldn't be able to use that method. Would not be allowed, I'm sure.
Right, right.
But I mean,
It's
that
been we're in wetlands.
salt's kind of environmental friendly, comes out of the earth.
I'm not sure I want to be throwing salt in a wetland.
Not the water.
Yeah. Mr.
All
Conley,
the animals need salt to live.
I get all the reasons, folks. Probably not gonna work.
Lenny, can you have Cindy go over and ask me to take care of it? Tubes and-
Mike?
So, I'm just gonna put this out to you gentlemen to think on pre-budget, scheduling hearings. I was a part of a another T2 training today, this morning. It was a free training, so but it's on fugitive dust. So that is what we deal with on our dirt roads every year, our gravel roads, and dealing with the few options that you have for dust control. But more to the point, what we do is try to keep the fine dust in the road because it makes a shell, keeps the road solid, and that binds it together. So one of the things that was presented was an actual, first time I've seen this, is a national recommendation for the amount of calcium chloride or magnesium that gets put down per gallon, per square yard per gallon. Right? So it's we've been doing 2/10 is what they call it at all states material. There was a point in time where some selectmen were doing 2 applications, 1/10 at a time, which in my book, it really doesn't hold up. You hit it and that's what you do. And if you have to reapply later, that's what you do, but there's a percentage you want to put down. So it was 0.3 gallons per square yard is the recommended. You could even try 2.5 gallons per square yard, but we're doing less than that, I believe. So my thoughts as you get into budgeting is the best way to do this is you grade the road and fluff everything up. You wet the road and then you apply calcium chloride and you roll it. We don't do those things, but we had some discussions about bringing a roller in. Mr. Evans has a roller. The watering truck we don't have for wetting, but even if you skip that portion, we could probably do a test section of maybe 4 miles of road. And one of the things would be Huntress Bridge Road, which would be a great area to try and do a better job. So instead of changing our philosophy that we've been operating under completely, go to the budget committee, ask for, an increase to treat, say, 4 or 5 miles of road with these new added techniques and see how they hold up. Huntress Bridge Road is a road that we brought in tens of thousands of dollars of gravel over 2 or 3 years time on occasion. And if we could stabilize that, it's less grading, so that's less man hours, $100 an hour for the grader, less materials you bring in. And if you could just get that road to hold together, it'd be a great test subject to kind of show us what we could achieve on other roads. Because there's a lot of chatter from the folks that deal with this like we do with bigger communities and big bucks, that there's a benefit there and there's a cost savings. So perhaps we could look at the idea of at least experimenting a little before asking for too much.
Now that you brought that up, my neighbor across the street's been in the paving business for close to 40 years. And when I was talking to him just before we closed the bridge, he did say in his experience, the way to handle Snow Road and Concord Hill would be to do exactly what you just said. And he said, once you've taken that roller over that road, he said it would be like driving on pavement. It would be packed down so hard, and it eliminates a lot of the potholes and everything else.
And that's the benefit of adding a solution that's more concentrated, is it permeates down lower layers. Ideally, if you had a 6-inch gravel base and 3/4 gravel, but that's hard to pay for and achieve on most of our roads. But again, if we start off with some gravel on there, it's been graded up so it's fluffed, and then, like I said, there's a few steps when you do that. We could at least experiment on the worst roads and find out if we see the benefits of cost analysis, and maybe we could actually save money. Sometimes you got to spend something to save something.
It's good. The budget chair just heard everything you said. So
I was ignoring that he was in the room. I didn't. Oh, look at that. Hey, Dave.
So, all right. Anything else? Good. The 91A, do you know which one it is you want to go in under?
Personnel.
Sounds like our cue.
It is going into non-public. Are we live?
Mhm.
Okay, I make a motion to come out of non-public session
Second.
and motion,
Uh,
aye,
Aye.
thank you.
Seal
Passed. Okay, reconvened at 10:39.
Yes. And then, yeah, do you want to seal the minutes?
And we do want to seal the minutes. Anybody disagree with that?
Nope.
no,
Okay. Make a motion to seal the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye.
Good. Passed. Okay, we're back into public meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, folks.